Like this means so much to me, and I can't wait for you guys to just see this journey. That whole last week of the cut, getting in front of the camera, it is a skill to feel natural, just like this, talking with you guys and feeling comfortable, being on screen and being able to just kind of let your essence shine through. That takes practice. The true strength that lies within me, not just the physical strength that I express, but the strength of my spirit and who I really am. That strength could never be lost or taken from me. Good morning, gang. It is officially photo shoot day. Oh my gosh, it's so crazy, like working for so long to one day. And I was just telling Jay, we had to stop at the store and grab a few things before I get there. Like, it's just a small blip in the grand scheme of, my physique and my performance journey. And yeah, but it's so exciting that it's here. I was going to film this morning, but I was like, you know what? Let me just take this time to reflect. So my hair is all done, all braided up. I did my nails last night. Makeup is all done, obviously. Just kind of like natural, neutral. My jacket, then the color, and the leggings and the top and all that. You will see in pictures to come, but I just wanted to jump on here, give you guys a little preview, and I'm very excited for this episode because as I was reflecting this morning, I was like, oh my God, like this means so much to me, and I can't wait for you guys who may be newer here or has kind of like seen glimpses into my story over the years to just see this journey. Before we dive into that story, I want to just give a little summary on how the final week of the cut went and the practice mock peak week number 2, because it was so nice. I was so happy that I was able to kind of have that first practice mock peak week and then be able to take the lessons that I learned from that into the next week. It was actually like super exciting because the final week of the cut, I was weighing in like 141, 140, like low 140s. And this whole time since January, I've had on my vision board that I want to get into the 130s during this cut. The last intense cut I did, I got down to 138. And so I wanted to get back there this time, but in a way that felt so different, that felt so good. Literally on Thursday, the day I was ready to start my peak week and start upping my carbs and doing refeed days, I weighed in that morning, and I could kind of feel it that night. Like I could feel as I was sleeping, like, okay, some shit's happening. Like, I feel like I'm getting leaner right now. Like, when you do this process enough, you can start to kind of feel it happening. And I woke up that morning, and I weighed in, and I weighed 139 about. And, like, I could for sure tell, because I have a dial scale, so it's not digital where you can see the actual number, but I definitely know it was under 140. It was like 138, 139. And I was like, fuck yes! Like, I fucking did it. And it's not even so much about the number. It's absolutely about the fact that I actualized that vision that I have held from the start of this process. So around January, kind of like late into 2022 as well. And the fact that I arrived there and that the process felt so good to get there, that is what I was celebrating in that moment. And it just, it's just like such a hug to your soul to like feel that conviction in yourself. So good. Then I entered the end of the cut officially, the start of the reverse diet. Like I mentioned, that whole last week of the cut, I just kind of backed away from training a little bit, allowed the fatigue that I've acquired since starting this process to lower, allow my body to feel a little bit more fresh, a little bit more recovered and vibrant. And that, you know, included like just soaking in some long baths and showers. And then going into that second peak week, I realized like, let me just do what I typically do for my refeed days, which I've done for the last 16 weeks now. And I will do that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 3 days in a row rather than just the 2 days that I would normally do on a weekend. And then Sunday was the photo shoot. So come Sunday, I felt like my muscles were full. I felt a little less conditioned looking than I probably would have liked. But the goal was to definitely get the muscles feeling full so that I felt stronger and I was able to, you know, flex harder and things like that during the photo shoot. So I was really happy with that. I'll go into a little bit more detail of how the shoot went. And that is a wrap on the photo shoot with Chloe. She did an amazing job just helping me to feel more comfortable in front of the camera. This was my second ever fitness photo shoot. I included some photos. I'll probably put them on screen here. But earlier in this series, I shared with you guys, I've done a fitness photo shoot, and that was about 3 years ago now. And I have grown so much physically and internally since then. And it was just really cool when she was showing me some of the previews of the pictures. I look more solid in my stature. Obviously, I have put on more size over the last 3 years. I don't know physically if this is like the leanest and most dense I actually have ever looked, but this is the like least stressful process I have ever taken to arrive in this physique, in this vessel. And that was really the goal in this process, is to just keep building momentum and make sure that I stay fresh, I feel free, I feel in control, so that this is a sustainable journey and I can continue making improvements moving forward. And it wasn't about just arriving at an outcome and then like now we can take our foot off the gas. It's a marathon and not a sprint. Regardless of how I look in these photos, I'm just very, very proud of how I have handled myself in the process to get to this point. And I've learned so much over these last like 16, 17, however many weeks it's been, that I will be able to take all of these lessons and apply them to my next cut moving forward and to my next photo shoot moving forward. Like I said, like getting in front of the camera, it is a skill to feel natural, you know, just like this, talking with you guys and feeling comfortable, you know, being on screen and being able to just kind of let your essence shine through. That takes practice. And so being with Chloe today and getting to practice that again, I know like I will just get better and better the more that I do. So I'm very proud of how I showed up today and just getting to go through all of the typical like type of training that I do and have that captured, and then also do some like more like fun kind of casual fits and just really get to like showcase who I am. Being able to now take these lessons into the next cut, like I was saying, that's going to be epic. But before we get there, the next chapter, which I talked to you guys about in the last episode, I'm very excited for this next phase of today. Actually, a few days ago, my kind of reverse diet process started. So as I was peaking and upping my calories and my carbs for this photo shoot, that was the start date of the reverse diet. And now I get to go at least until the rest of this year. I'm thinking I'm gonna probably schedule another call with Alberto Nunez, who is the natural bodybuilding coach I have been working with in this process, and kind of talk to him about a timeline to potentially get on stage in 2024 and to kind of see like what kind of shows are actually near me for natural bodybuilding. They're not super popular, so just kind of seeing what's available and what could be on the radar for 2024 and a time frame, so I know kind of how long do I have as an off season. So we're looking at probably at least 6 months of getting my calories back to maintenance, starting to push the intensity and the volume a little bit more in my training. And like I said, I'm just really excited for that, because this bodybuilding style program has been so good for me to practice more isolating movements and just work kind of like muscle groups that I've never really focused too much on in the past as a powerlifter. So I'm excited to continue practicing those, getting better at all of those movements, and kind of switching up my movement patterns to just give some areas that were starting to nag a little bit a break. And focus on those weaknesses that I talked about in episode, I think that was the last episode 16 of Crafting a Vibrant Vessel. So with that said, here's to more gains and to enjoying the journey, enjoying the process, and getting better and bringing my best every single day. This photo shoot called All That I Am. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the come up story that led to it. Obviously, in the last series, Crafting a Vibrant Vessel, you guys heard the reason I chose to do the photo shoot, which was to capture my physique at the end of the bodybuilding cut and have some transparency to see what are my weaknesses, how do I want to build my next block of training based on that. But there was more to this whole bodybuilding process that I've gone through over the last 16 weeks. And I want to share that with you guys, because I don't know if you know how much it has meant to me. It wasn't just about changing my physique and through the nutrition and the training. Back in episode 1 of Crafting a Vibrant Vessel, as well as in episode 4, I talked about it quite a bit. My history, my background with powerlifting and with fitness in general, I pushed myself really, really hard. During a certain period of my life, it was around 2015, 2016. I ended up burning out, I got injured. There were a few variables that I've since pinpointed, or patterns I should say, that were prevalent during that period of my life. The intensity and the volume were very high in my training, as well as my nutrition. Just a lot of rigidity and specificity around training and nutrition. I also had a very perfectionist mindset and very outcome oriented. Throughout the whole process of prepping for powerlifting competitions and, trying to make a weight class and all of these things, very working for a later reward and payoff type of mentality. And, operating out of that way for so long, demanding so much discipline of myself and not really allowing space to just live and be, ended up resulting in a period of time where I needed space to just live and be. So that initial phase I talked about, probably around 2 to 4-ish years of my life, which led the pendulum to swing in the other direction. And for the next 4 to 6 years, it's kind of ballpark, these phases of my life. The pendulum goes in the other direction, and I spend so much of my lifestyle in an intuitive, flowy feeling state. So just stepping away from lifting as my primary discipline, getting more into dance and the circus arts. I have an extensive background in yoga. I experimented with animal flow and gymnastic strength training, so a lot of time on the rings and just body weight movements. And I needed that period of my life to, like I said, kind of balance out the other end of the spectrum that I was operating on. And so along with this like variety of different movement practices, I also needed a lot of space to just breathe, to be, and I feel like recover. So kind of a theme from that phase of my life was minimum effective dose in all things. And with kind of pulling back the reins and not pushing so hard, I also became really process focused and just focused on being present. And because that prior phase I mentioned was very intense and led to an injury, I made sure that that next phase of my life was very focused on integrity of movement, no matter what the activity, hobby, discipline, whatever it was that I chose. After a period of about, 8 to 10 years, it's like, it's not, obviously perfectly labeled phases of my life, but around 2021, I finally started to feel like I was kind of coming back into a state of homeostasis and harmony. And I started to find a way to incorporate strength training more consistently into my lifestyle in a way that felt good, that felt sustainable. And the same applies to my nutrition. Starting to find a way to exercise a little bit more discipline, specificity, and consistency without feeling like it was ruling my life. I felt like I was able to control it rather than it controlling me. These patterns that I've described over the years, I see how they kind of leak into how I be, how I live, how I work in these other areas of my life. This photo shoot, All That I Am, represents coming full circle from that phase of my life where I felt like I, had failed or I had made a mistake because I let myself get injured and burn out, and life just became really, really dark when I couldn't do what I loved every single day. It felt like something had been taken from me, and it was very, very hard to watch not all of my physical strength, but a lot of the strength that I had worked so hard for over the years kind of go down the drain once I got injured. And when I couldn't train the way that I wanted to anymore, it was very challenging for me to stay motivated and consistent with proper nutrition habits. That phase of my life kind of led to a loss of sense of self, of who I was, of my identity, because so much of who I was tied up into sport. And it wasn't until years later of healing from that period of my life through yoga and these different modalities I've explained that I started to see that the true strength that lies within me, not just the physical strength that I express, but the strength of my spirit and who I really am, that strength could never be lost or taken from me. And so I've explained to you guys throughout the last series how I created a program called Solidity, and it felt so representative of who I had become, so solid in my state, so in harmony with the light and dark of who I am, because it was that dark phase that led to the healing and kind of coming to know my light and remembering my spirit and who I really am. You know, all that time healing really taught me that my strength is not just in pushing hard and doing the work in the gym and exerting myself, but that there is also a strength in my softness and allowing myself to just rest and to just be and to honor my emotions and allow myself to flow and be intuitive and just feel life and move to my rhythm and have grace with myself in my process. So this journey has really taught me that balance really is key, and that rest is part of the work, and that more is not better. Better is better. Because the journey is so much more rewarding when it feels good for you, when it comes from the heart, and when you are truly enjoying what you are doing. You know, it took me years to integrate all of these lessons and get to where I am today. And I'm by far no means done with my healing journey, but I was very proud to see some of the previews of the photos from this photo shoot and just feel so grateful for this version of Courtney that I have become. And through all that I am, I have just such profound gratitude for the process, and also a deep respect and honoring of the process. I feel so lucky that I have been able to pursue my passion of strength training and yoga and, you know, just a healthy lifestyle. Pursue that hobby and make it my career. I have to often remind myself that it's simply what I do, but not who I am. Who I am is the context of who I be within all that I do. I just feel so fortunate to love what I do and who I be every single day. And I'm not perfect. I am human. I make mistakes. I get it wrong, but I learn. I get better by the day. So I hope that comes through on camera when you see some of these shots and be able to see just how far I've come in my journey in the inner transformation of all that I am. Speaking of respecting the process and, you know, doing what you love, being what you love, I didn't mention in that last bit, but I read a book in 2022 called Braiding Sweetgrass. If you've heard of it, let me know below. It's so good. And there was one part specifically in that book that hit me so deep and was really a monumental part in my story. I remember going for a walk with a friend last year and bringing it up to her because when I read this specific part in the story, it literally made me cry because I felt it so deep. I was just like, oh my God, like it makes sense now why I felt like something was taken from me, like, which I mentioned to you guys. And in the book, it's written by an author who is an Indigenous woman, so she's very connected to the land and to nature. She's also a botanist, so she studies plants from the scientific lens, but also from the lens of communing with the plants, if you will, building a relationship experientially with them and not just getting to know them from the textbook side of things. So she tells a story in her story about the three sisters. There's three different plants that they naturally grow together. You'll find them next to each other because they provide gifts to one another. The three sisters are corn, pole beans, and squash. And how it works is the corn provides a support when it's placed in the center for the other plants to kind of lean upon and grow. The beans provide nitrogen to the soil and actually provide additional support. Squash helps to cool the soil and can hinder the growth of weeds as well. So these three plants, the sisters, when they are grown together, can help each other like a collective flourishing. And so when I read this story, it hit me so deep because the author really presents, what everything in nature offers a gift, and nature is abundant. And she really brings home the point throughout the whole novel that not only does nature provide a gift, but you are nature and you have gifts to provide to those around you. And when I read this specific part of the story, it hit home because I felt like, lifting was my passion, and lifting was so much of a part of my story. And when it was taken from me, it felt like my gift was robbed from me, and that I had not, honored or respected it enough. I sort of abused it, and it made me so sad because it left me feeling so empty and dark, like I explained, for a long time, until I found yoga and meditation and mindfulness and rekindled my spirit and realized that my identity was not in just those things, those sports, but that the gift is who I be. And I have to often remind myself still, but I wanted to end with a story because I hope that in me sharing my story, it reminds you that you too also have gifts to share, and that you pursuing your joy and what you do and being what you love is a gift to the world, and that by doing so, it helps the collective to thrive. As a reminder, I have a link in the description box for a free guide that I offer to help you find and pursue your gifts, to do what you love, to be what you love every single day. So if that speaks to you, feel free to check that out and get your free guide. As always, thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode. If you are new here, welcome. I'm so grateful that you are here on this journey, on the pursuit of authenticity. I'm so excited to dive into this next series with you guys. Please let me know what you would love to see below. Let me know what you're taking away from this first episode in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to give it a thumbs up, give it a like. And if you are not already, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to be notified of future episodes. And I will see you guys again in a couple weeks for episode 2.